Okay, so here in front of me I have an old Kenwood machine, which is a cake mixer or paste dough, and it's 54 years old. This particular machine is 54 years old and actually belongs to my auntie. And you can see here that it's got one problem there where it doesn't hold all the way down. It should be like that. So we got a gap here, and the knob is broken, but the machine is still working. The motor, you can see, still runs. But disconnecting the power, I have also noticed, okay, that the knob hits this section here. So if we see here, if this is all the way down, okay, the knob hits the bottom there. So if I hold that down, okay, so I put some tape here to be able to hold it down. So there, you can see there, it's rubbing. It's actually getting stuck there, which means this bottom is hitting the knob. You see there? It's rubbing on the knob. So obviously something has lowered here. Internally it came down, which could explain the gap here. So let's see if we remove the tape. Okay, this, you press the button here and it releases. So we can see that the bottom part of the knob is rubbing here. So looks like that somehow this whole motor section mechanism has dropped down, okay, because this is a solid part here where it's not loose. So this is mounted, I think, mechanically inside. So the model number is A701A, and it's made in Australia, in South Australia, by Kenwood. Kenwood is a British company, and this, as I said, it's 54 years old, and the current rating on this is 1.4 amps. Okay, so there's the shaft that holds the unit locked in the closed position or open, and it's got a circlip here under there that needs to be removed, and then the shaft will come off and will release this plate, which means I can swing it more out and be able to take the screws off. The screws. Okay, so the circlip has been removed and the latch now has been released. Okay, so we need to take these screws off here to allow the wire to come more in, not to be locked. So, and you can see the wire is it's got a bit of a cut there. Okay. Okay. Okay, so here we got the wires, neutral, one thing, I have a feeling this cable hasn't got an earth. Okay, so I think we'll take this off. Okay. And we'll push this inside. Okay. So this is the internal part. It's got a capacitor, couple of capacitors, looks like a resistor, and the speed controller. I'm just wondering, it could be some sort of carbon or a point system. I think if I remember, this could be a point system, speed controller, where the points switch off and on. Now, why is this the interesting part? Why is this whole thing touching onto the metal? Why is this whole thing lower? That's what I don't understand. Because inside here it's got screws to hold the motor, and it looks like they are tight, but I'll check. There's nothing is moving here. They're definitely tight. That's tight, doesn't move. So I'll have to investigate a bit more here. Okay, looking at the machine this way, I need to take this part off. So here's a pin here. I'm gonna have to punch that out. Okay, so I'll be punching this pin out. So as you can see here, the pin's coming out. I just need to punch it a bit more. Okay, so that's been taken off the machine, so it's easier to work with. Before I remove the whole motor from inside, I want to measure the distance between the shaft to the bottom section, I'm getting 14.6 millimeters. Around 14.2 because I pushed it a bit down. Okay, and I just removed the motor, 4 screws, okay, from the unit. And as I said, you see this speed controller here is mechanically fitted to the frame. And by me removing this from the Kenwood, from the frame, I could see where the problem is. I could see it. The problem is this: the rubbers. The rubbers have expanded. You see? You see? That means that because the rubbers are worn, the motor have dropped down. And because of that, we have the issue. Now, the question is going to be, can you buy these rubbers? Do they still make them? You see, they're deteriorated. So that's the issue. There you go. I already know that. If the rubbers are worn, the whole mechanism drops down, and therefore the knob rubs on the bottom plate and affects the whole thing. So that's the motor there. And the speed controller, if you notice, it's got 2 points. I need light here. Let's see. If you can see, let's see, underneath there, there's 2 points. Okay? And depends how far they are apart. It will change the speed, something like that, if I remember right. I have worked on a similar machine. So that is changing the pressure there, yeah. The distance. I'm sure it's some sort of speed controller with the contacts. Yeah. So the speed controller, as you can see here, just alters the distance there. Eventually, when I'll have it, once I'll work out what I'm going to do here, I'll plug it on and I see how it works. Here I have the knob, which is broken. These are the pieces, and I will be gluing this together. So I've just cleaned this up. It was broken before and broke again, obviously. That's glued before. Now it's a new break. So the part where it's broken before, it didn't break from there. This discoloration, I don't know if that's from the super glue when it was repaired before or not. Not really sure. But first I'm gonna super glue this in place. I'll start with this part here, and then later on I'll be putting JB Weld. But first I'll use super glue just to put it back together. Okay, here I have glued the knob together with the super glue, and around here I gave it a bit of a sand around the joint and around the old glue where it was repaired before, just around here. And that is from the back. Okay, so it's been broken there and there. So what I'm going to be doing in this section here, I'll be putting tape here to block these holes, these two holes. I'll be putting a small piece of tape to block over there. I'll be giving this a slight sand with a sandpaper, a bit rough, and just wipe it with methylated spirit. And then I will fill a certain level here with JB Weld, and that's fine because this section, when it goes in, it only goes out about to that much from the top. So all here is free, doesn't hit anything. So just this bottom section here will, with JB Weld, will make this a lot stronger, not just relying on the super glue. Okay, and this part here, it's supposed to have a plastic cover that covers this hole here, and it says Kenwood on it, but that's is missing, and we don't have that. Got some aluminium plate here. Okay, and I've cut this part and I've bent it. Okay, so this will be fit in here, and then at least we got a cover for there. So that's what we've done there, what I did there. Okay, so after gluing with the super glue, as I explained before, I gave it a sand with some sandpaper, okay, all around here, and the hole here I'm going to be blocking with a piece of foam. So I cut a piece of foam here, okay, and I'll insert it from the front, so the epoxy glue that I'm going to use, which is the JB Weld, will not fill up that cavity, because that cavity is important for the plate that needs to plug in there. Plus I don't want the glue to come out that way. So as you can see, it's being filled up there with the foam, and that should prevent the JB Weld not to leak out past the foam. So all here is sanded, and I'm gonna put some alcohol just to clean it out. Okay, so to make sure the glue's there's no oils or anything. Oops. Okay, so bit of a clean. Okay, so now it's a matter of mixing the JB Weld and start filling that. So I'll mix the glue. Okay, so I mixed up the JB Weld, and I put some masking tape here just in case I don't want it smearing around the front. So it's a matter of putting the JB Weld here. Hopefully it's not too messy. Okay. hopefully it will self-level a bit. So I might have to use a bit of a screwdriver here. Okay. It's like I'm doing a cake mix, icing. Okay. So how I explained before, this bottom part is free, doesn't touch anything, so it's only the top part. Okay, it's only this top part here that goes on the other part of the mechanism. Okay, so that will self-level. Okay, it's good that I put the masking tape because I could see some JB Weld there a bit on the outside, so I just have to wipe that off. Okay, let me wipe that off. Okay, so I took off the masking tape. Okay, sorry, there. Make sure there's no JB Weld on the outside. Okay, it started to level off, and I just wiped around the outside there, and that's fine. That's heaps of JB Weld there, which now it actually came much heavier because the JB Weld is very, very dense, and that will make the knob very strong. Probably, maybe stronger than before it was broken, because now it's got a bit of bulk to it. And another trick you can do to help the epoxy to level and any air bubbles come out is to, if you have a hot air gun around 200 degrees and about 100 millimeters away, just turning, just warm it up a little bit, not too hot. Okay, warm it up, and the epoxy will thin out a little bit because when you mix it's very thick, and that will help any air bubbles to come out if there is any as well, and it will level out a bit more. Okay, sometimes you can see like little air bubbles, and you just get a toothpick and just punch it in. Okay, that's it. That's if you want to be fussy, because really it's still good enough. Yeah, so you can see it's very level. So I can show you a bit more. Okay, like sometimes you see little bubble there, could be a bubble, that one could be a bit of air, but it's pretty good. That's good. Okay, so the motor is out, as we took out before. And now I'm going to take the rest of the unit here apart. So it's got 4 screws here. Okay. And I took the knob here already off. So it's got this knob here. You just remove that. And now this should slide off. And that's it there. It's got a lot of dirt, probably from the cake mixes along the ears that got in there. So that's all got to be cleaned. And now this thing's got some felt here. And you can see this looks like some sort of old flour from cakes. So I'll have to clean that up. Now we've got to remove this cover here. So this thing's got some screws here, 3 screws. Technically, to remove the belt, there's a belt here. You need to take this section off first, but because I removed the motor first, the belt is still in there. So we got a screw with a fiber washer. Okay. 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 So that's that cover there, just 3 screws. And we can see here we got the belt, which originally went on the motor there, on the spline and the tooted cog here. So now this should lift. There you go, just lifts out. You can see it needs a clean. There's the belt. Okay. Now looking here, you can see where the belt has been rubbing. Okay, you can see here the belt's been rubbing. The reason why it's been rubbing because the motor has dropped down. Now while this drops down, okay, it pulled the belt down. Am I saying the right thing here or not? Hang on a minute. That sits there. Probably not, but not probably drop down. In actual fact, if it drops down, it pulls it away. So I'm saying the wrong thing. But it probably was on an angle. The motor was probably on an angle, which made the belt in that position. And the clearance, maybe it's, maybe over the years, I don't know, but by these rubbers being stretched and having a big gap here, as you can see, this wouldn't have been sitting right. So that's part of the gearbox, and this, okay, that's like it's spinning free as if it's in neutral, And when this is pressed down by the top section here, which there's this unit here, it's got a pin, and that when it fits over there, okay, it presses this down, okay, and that's got a nylon part which probably rubbing here, which requires a little bit of grease there. Once that's down, the gearbox turns the machine. So this part here only turns, you see, by the top bit. And the reason why this is a clutch here is because on the top here, okay, on the top there, you can put a liquidizer here. So when you remove this, okay, the pin is not pressing on this section, so therefore it releases the gearbox from turning, and this will become free spinning, okay, which in turn, the motor itself here, this top section goes into the liquidizer and turns the liquidizer on top here. So while that's turning at the motor speed without a gearbox, direct drive, the mixer section here will not turn. So that's what that is there. So that's the belt, and by the look of it, power grip, I don't know if this has been changed before. I would say it's probably still original. It's still in, looks like it's still in good condition. I will examine it a bit more, but amazingly it's still okay. Alright, the other thing is we have to inspect is the brushes on the motor, because it's got a brush here and another brush, and yeah, so let's see if we check the brushes here. In that position, and the brush is still okay. It's got a lot of length on it, so it still looks okay. I'll put back that one there. You don't over tighten these because they're Bakelite. I don't think there's plastic. So if you over tighten it will break. Check this brush. Try to keep the same position. Don't want to really be turning them around, because that's how they've been wearing on that position. So you should always keep that, and plenty of length, and the spring, plenty of length. Now that shows you, my auntie had this machine, and actually a bit of correction, I said the machine is 54 years old, but I've spoken to my auntie just to tell her what the problem was, and she told me it's 58 years old. 58 years. Now of course she doesn't use this every day, but those would be still the original brushes, because I asked if she had it fixed before. She said not really. She had, doesn't recall. I have fixed it before, where I think the knob was broken before. I may have glued this before for her, but the brush has never been changed. I don't recall it. I never changed them. So they're still the original ones. So amazing. Amazing. Okay. So what I'm going to do, you can see that it's very dirty. So I'm going to be releasing this part. I will unscrew it from these screws here, the gearbox, so I can remove this section and I'll be able to wash all this and clean it all up. Okay, so this section, it's got a screw and a nut. The screwdriver slightly too wide. Pause that. And these nuts, I've been trying to find a spanner, so that's an 8mm, and the 8mm sort of fits very tight, so I don't think that's the right size, and the 8mm rounded doesn't fit in, and the 9mm is too big. So that tells me that that's some imperial size. So honestly, that's a 5/16 and doesn't go in either. And then I got a 3/8 and it's too big. So don't know what size that is, but the 8mm fits very tight in there. Okay, and there you go. It's got a star washer. If you could undo the nut, it's always better than trying to turning the screw. When you have a nut like that, will be still very tight on the screw, so the best way is to undo the nut first. We try that there. Okay, that's what we got. And this, it's got another screw with no nut, so it must be threaded. So, yep. And this, the threaded one. And so, now we got the gearbox, okay, section separated from the back housing, so I can wash this in the soap and water to remove all the grime. Same with that. So nothing is broken here, this all still works, so all I'm doing is just basic cleaning, which is important to keep things clean. And yep. Okay, so I've put everything in the sink. All this stuff can be all washed with hot water and soap. So dynamo. A bit more. Dishwashing liquid is also good. Bit of a toothbrush. Anyway, you get the picture, just needs to be all clean. Okay. So I'm gonna just check, I'm gonna take this off because looking from the side here I sort of see, I'm not sure if that's dirt under there or, so I'll see if we can take this off. And I did look at the PDF file of the manual book for this. I just took the nut off here. I think there's supposed to be a washer there. Okay. So this they call the planet gear assembly section. Okay, the grease in here, actually I can see there's two parts of grease, looks like. There's a clear or brown yellowish looking grease, and there's graphite grease here, but it's very hard. And this is this part. Yeah, this grease has gone hard. It's like wax. Okay. Yeah, it's solidified, this grease. Either the grease gone hard over the years, but this is graphite grease, which I don't think is the original grease. And also, on the PDF file, which I will show later, in here it shows that there was felt beds. But it may be that on this particular model, it may be that they haven't fitted them in. Because sort of looking at this, doesn't look like, there's supposed to be a clip here that holds the pad. Doesn't look like that there was ever anything on it. Just looking at that. And this is a trust washer here. and even the thrust washer. Yeah, it's all, the grease has gone hard, so it's a good job I took this off. I will have to check the grease in the gearbox. It has got apparently an inspection, a filler screw where you take the screw off and you fill it with grease from there after assembly. But I will check that and see. Now apparently here there should be a clip. Let's see. Oh, I'll have to wash this out. I'll have to wash that out and clean it. I also have received the rubber mounts of the motor. Okay. What do they have to take them up for? Okay, so these are reddish. This is a black. I don't know if these are the original or an aftermarket, but hopefully they're the right ones anyway. So they're the four, and they gave us here some washers. The washers almost look second hand. What's going on here? Yeah. You called it a new washer? What's these marks here? That's a used washer. So go and guess what's really going on here. Why would they do that? Four used washers. Well, obviously the rubbers, they are brand new, but I never seen nothing in my life like this. 4 new rubbers and 4 new old washers from a machine that was used. Amazing. All right, so I'll stop there and I'll show the bit and cleaning the spot maybe. Trying out a new mic to work with the phone camera. So I've got some kerosene here. Normally I don't use kerosene, but the solvents, shellite and all that has become too expensive. So I'm just cleaning this old grease here. And kerosene really is a good cleaner. It's actually, that's what they used to use from mechanical stuff because it doesn't dry up completely everything. It's actually still got some lubrication on it. So what I need is a new brush because this brush is actually not good. Yeah, this grease have definitely gone hard. And it could have been maybe a bit of flour eventually got in there over the years. It's got some green, which that normally the green could be some sort of oil. Normally actually cooking oil, doesn't it? So anyway, I'll keep cleaning and I'll take the clip and then I'll show you after that. Anyway, the clip here, I can see it's just slowly with a screwdriver, just go around, just try to lift it off, and there you go. Okay, let's lift it off there. So now this should lift out. Though it might be a bit seized up, I probably could hit that down and it. That's coming off. Okay. So there's the gear. Is there a washer there? Doesn't look like there's a washer. Now this should pop down. And there you go. This part here has got phosphor bronze bushes. Okay. So, yeah. The grease has gone like a rock. So eventually this was going to wear out if I didn't take it apart. And my auntie would say, it's making a noise. Anyway, more cleaning. Don't want to bore you with that. It's just cleaning and cleaning. And then we'll inspect to make sure everything is okay and there's no way that it's going to be an issue. And then reassembling with new grease. Okay, just inspecting the internal gear here. I could see that it has got some wear. And the way you can see it, see if I can zoom in. This should be more like a triangle with a flat here. But as you can see on one side, it's got extra wear here. Extra wear there. Okay. So you can see this is wear. This has got slight wear, you can see on the left, but on the right, you can see it's got excess wear. So this is part of the casing, so I'm not going to be able to do anything with this. I'm not going to be trying to get a second-hand unit. It's not worth it. But this gear just turns this section here. So this part here, which I put that back to front, it actually goes from here. So it turns the attachment that you fit on the mixer. Okay. So it goes around and also this spins. So the gear inside this planetary gear here, you'll have this gear attached to there, and inside that will turn like that. You can see how it's spinning. So look, in the end it was working with the old grease, which was hard. Okay, so eventually, obviously the force is forward that way. Because if it was this way, most likely we'll wear this side. But it's actually wearing that part. It's actually wearing the right side here. Okay, going clockwise. So that's going to have to stay like that. And also, I've realized the hub have an issue as well, where when you put this on here, the keyway is very worn. I'll show you there. Have a look at that. The shaft's not even turning. Look how much play it has. Okay, and you can see it's also worn to one side more than the other side, which got all this rock. And look at that. What I've noticed is when you tighten the screw, this part, you see, it's got, where I put the arrow here, a small gap here, and 180 degrees apart, you see that it's got a bigger gap there. And that's because this is worn, the hub itself, okay, and when it sits here, okay, it doesn't sit 100% flat onto the base of the shaft, okay. And I think the hub itself, over the years being cast aluminium, is probably have warped a little bit. And I have noticed the models after this one, like some years that they brought, same model, but they have changed the support here. They actually put a support here and a support here and a support, two supports here. This is the early, probably one of the first ones that they've made on the A701A, but I've seen pictures on the internet, the same model, A701A, with extra support here and there. So I think they would have realized that this can actually tends to warp a little. Anyway, that's my opinion. Could be wrong, but that's what I think has happened, plus the actual wear and the hub. But cast aluminium, over the years, with temperature and aging, tends to it could warp. So yeah, though it's not cracked or anything like that, and it could have been where they had the factory when they made them, it wasn't really perfect, you know, because you can see here, this is machine marks. You see the lines, and it's got lines there, which has got lines here. The blue, I've put that in there because I wanted to see where it's sort of touching, where it's not touching. But they would have sort of machined that from the factory. I don't think these would have come out 100% all the same in their first productions. So they could have had an issue with that. But what I'm going to do is I am going to, where I've marked there, that's the low part, I'm going to try grinding a little bit, or filing type of thing, to try to get this sitting. We're only talking about maybe 0.3 millimeters to align it, so when you tighten the nut, it will try to tighten a bit more. You see, it tightens a bit more level. But you see, it really hasn't got a proper flat on it. It seems to be on an angle. And I'm gonna fill this with JB Weld, and then where it's got the wear, obviously, only where it's got the wear, like the wear in this section here. You can see how it worn a groove in there and widened this whole thing. And with the hits here, this was raised up. I actually flattened this down with the hammer. So I've put it on the vise with support in the bottom here. And also here it had a dimple as well. And I had to hammer that down because it was raised up. And same here, I had to hammer that down. It's aluminium, so it's not very hard. It's hard, but it's, you know, it's not as strong as steel. And this is not made out of steel. So some sort of cast. And I've put a magnet on it, so it's not steel. I would say some sort of cast aluminium, something like that. So I'll be filling this with JB Weld and filing it later on once it's dry, just to try to take off the looseness, because my auntie doesn't really use this much. And you cannot buy a new one. You cannot buy a new one like this. They don't make these anymore. So you can try buying second-hand one maybe, and you don't know if it's going to be good, the second-hand one. Not unless I'm there and I can try it. If you buy it off eBay or anything like that, you don't know if it's going to be any good when you receive it. So I don't think I want to be doing that. So I'm just going to patch it up that way. And it will still will, you know, be able to get some use out of it. So that's that. Okay. So I thought a little bit about it, and I thought instead of trying to file this to get this on the right angle, okay, being aluminium, I thought instead of filing it, is try to tap it or flattening where the high spot is to get the right angle with a small hammer on the vise here. So I put a bit of a rag there. So I know I've got the mark here, that's the low spot. So it needs flattening around here. So I will try that. Okay, it's getting better, believe it or not. It's definitely getting better. So it needs around more here. I've put a mark where the high spot is. It's between these two lines, which comes around there. Okay, we'll try that. Okay, so I show you the improvement. I don't know if you recall, the gap, this was almost touching here before. And this section was much higher. So it's still not 100%, but now I've got much a bigger gap here than before. This was almost rubbing before. So that is working. Needs just a little bit more. We'll take off the nut. So that sits right on the edge of the shaft. It's got a thrust washer here. Okay. So and even now the rock, of course, that's still loose there, but when I flatten that down it feels more flat. It's definitely an improvement. Yes. Still needs a bit more. So it's sitting high here. Okay. Which tells me sitting high here. So it needs to go that way. That way. That means this is still lower. It's better. Much better. Because remember, the distance changes the angle. So a small angle here, by the time you come to the edge, is going to become bigger or smaller. So it doesn't need much by the time you come to there. So a little angle here, you get a greater angle the further out you go. Get the picture. I will keep doing that until it comes a bit better. After a bit of more tapping, I've got it very good, comparable to how it was before. Very good. Hang on a minute, this is coming undone here. You can see it's got a slide, but it's pretty good, comparable to what it was before. I can try to give it a bit more, but that's a big improvement. So that's just by tapping the surface where it sits on the shaft. Yeah. So at least when I tighten the nut, I'm going to rely more on that tightness to have it sitting properly, besides the JB weld, to get rid of the slack. So yes, that's all. That's the best I can do without changing this. Okay, so the gearbox here, I filed the surface on top of here, okay, to get rid of those bears. Not that I was going to do anything, but I filed that just to make it better anyway. And I'll give it another clean. And that's the hub there. So I filled up where I had the groove there with the JB weld, and just cleaned up this area and tried to lift this a bit up here. So when I tighten it, it tightens straight. And I will be putting some of this retaining compound, which this stuff doesn't, it was actually, you won't be able to take this off. But I'm only going to put it on one side where it's got the wear, okay, along the hole here. So that's what I'm going to do.